everybody. Mestre Vibes coming to you from Tokyo, Japan. It's starting to turn into fall here, so it's been raining all day, and my allergies are acting up with the weather change, so sometimes you might hear some sniffling. But it's great to be here. It's Monday morning. It's a national holiday in Japan, and I'm feeling fantastic and really blessed to be here with all of you guys. Today, or better yet, this week's podcast is going to be a follow-up on my last podcast, which was the comparison of racism of Japan, in between Japan and the United States, as a lot of people commented that they really liked the episode, and one of our supporters had asked if I could talk about some of my experiences here and how I see myself here in Japan. And this is kind of funny because I really feel I have a unique perspective on racism in Japan. One, because I consider myself someone who lives in Japan. And what I mean by what does it mean to live in Japan means that you're not here as an expat where your company treats you as they would treat you if you were in your own country with all the benefits and everything. And you're not here as military because even military, when they're here in Japan, they don't really live in Japan. What I mean by living in Japan means that I'm here and all my income, all of what I do, everything I do is as a Japanese person, except that I'm a foreigner, right? Taxes, everything. So I live in Japan. I deal with Japanese people every day as one of them. And I don't mean I'm Japanese. I'm not trying to be Japanese. So this will be more about my perspective. So let's jump right into it. Before I start talking about my perspective on how I live here in Japan and how racism affects me, I want to share with you guys the audio of a video I took years ago when I was teaching in Harajuku, which is an area near Shibuya. We were doing a rental studio and I was teaching capoeira there twice a week. On the way to the studio, it was winter, so I was wearing my reggae or Rasta beanie, which is, the colors of Rasta: green, black, gold, and red. And this is really interesting because I'm going to have to give you guys a lot of background on what's going on right now. So I'm walking from the station to the rental studio, and the police stopped me. And anyone who's been stopped by the police in Japan, which is generally foreigners, you're going to know that what happens is when they decide to talk to you, they surround you with like 5 to 8 or even more police officers. The reason they do this is because they cannot legally stop you. But what they do is they surround you close enough so that if you make a move and you brush up against one of them, or if you touch one of them when you move, then it's assault on a police officer, and then they can detain you for up to 21 or 23 or 25 days without without any charges being filed. So it's a very different system here. When people come to Japan, please don't think it's like the United States with rights and everything for you. Once the police decide to stop you, there's not much you can do about it. So I'm walking to the from the station to the rental studio, and the police surround me, and I'm tired, so I'm really I'm carrying my capoeira stuff, and I'm going to teach at the studio. But here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the track here, and then piece by piece I'm going to tell you what they're saying and in my perspective of what's going on. Guys, I hope you like it. And I hope you guys can get a good perspective of how Japan is when it comes to racism. So in this first part, they stop me and they ask what I'm doing and where I'm coming from. Hold on, here we go.
Thank you. Thank you. やっぱりね、これはね、ファッションでも
わかるけど、
日本は
そうでも
マリファナ多いのよ。
そうわかるけど、ちょっと失礼じゃない。So at this point, by the point that you guys hear right now, he had already checked my ID. So as far as I know legally, once a police officer in Japan identifies themselves as a police officer, which was obvious in this case, then you have to show your ID, or in my case, what we call back in the day, the gaijin torokusho or the gaijin card, right? And that connotates right there already very racist and a feeling towards foreigners, okay? So he said he stopped me because the people who wear this type of color, Rasta colors, beanies, tend to have marijuana and tend to have drugs on them. So we can do that. And I said, well, it's kind of rude because, you know, it's profiling. So I said, it's kind of rude to do this. He goes, yeah, I understand, but.
だけど
私たちも分からないの。
分からないから。
日本人もやってる？
やってる。
あ、それだったら大丈夫。
ああ、日本に特にこれもうすごいよ。
差別はしませんよ。
だから
日本の人も僕は早稲田大学院文化人類学勉強した。
At this point, there are several police officers talking to me at one time. And I know it's because they want to like confuse me and whatnot. Maybe I'll do something stupid. I don't know. But that's kind of a given. So what he had said, what I'd said to them, I go, so do you stop everybody who wears these kind of reggae or Rasta fashion? And he said, of course we do, because, you know, Japanese do it too. And I'll be honest with you, that was the biggest crock of bull that I've ever heard in my life. I've been here 23 years, and the only time I've ever seen police stop a Japanese person was if they were they looked like a man, they were a man on a bike, and they looked like they were driving drunk on their bicycle. Beyond that, I've never seen anyone stopped. I've asked my wife, I've asked friends, they have never been stopped. They have never been searched. They have never been profiled. It doesn't exist. Maybe 1 out of a billion. But I can say with 99.9% certainty that the Japanese police do not stop Japanese people to be searched or for anything without a cause, not just racially profiling because of the clothes they wear. At the time, a lot of Japanese were wearing with reggae colors on it. So you could even see little kids, like babies wearing a marijuana leaf, a weed leaf on their clothes because people say, oh, the Japanese don't know. They do, but it's completely superficial and completely fashion culture. So for them, even if they don't do marijuana, they think it's fashionable to wear it. I have seen so many kids going to hip hop classes, going to different events, going just in the street, and I've seen pregnant mothers wearing giant marijuana, pregnant dress, walking down the street, and they have never been stopped by the police. And it will never happen where the Japanese police will stop somebody. You would have to look so scummy, so strange, so weird for the Japanese police to stop you if you're Japanese. But if you're a foreigner, they can profile and do whatever they want. That's just how it is. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that's how it is in Japan. In the background, the person goes, well, what do you do? And I said, I'm a graduate from cultural anthropology from Waseda. And they're like, wow, oh my God, surprising, that's amazing. Why? Because foreigners can't be educated here at your own universities. Waseda University is one of the top 6 universities in Japan, and it's always like amazing because anytime you tell somebody who's Japanese you went to Waseda, they're like, oh, you must be a genius.
もう10年間、目薬が目薬はい。もうそれしかない。いいよ、どうぞ。ソフトタッチで。そう。やらしいだけ。コインポケット指入れて大丈夫ですか？いいですか？指入れても大丈夫？はい、ありがとうございます。
Guys, this is the most hilarious part of what happened. So I'm going to Capoeira. I'm taking straight razor blades, because we were training straight razor blades that night. 2 knives that looked like I could kill someone. And I had 4 makulele knives with me, machetes. They were like, I would say maybe 40 centimeters each. And they were in my bag, and they saw them because they went through my bag. They asked, can we see in your bag? And I knew I didn't do anything wrong, and I knew what was going on. So I was like, let's just get this done. I'm too tired. I know how it is here. So I was just like, go ahead, check it. Then they checked it. They're like, oh, razor blades. They were like, okay. I said, I use it for work. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, machetes. Wow. I use it for work. I teach. And this is going to happen later in the conversation. And you can hear them giggling. in Japan, when you say something, they try to diffuse the situation by making it a joke. So a lot of times when someone's embarrassed or they know they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, they'll act stupid and start to giggle. But this is a very serious situation. If this was the United States with anti-profiling laws, I would have sued. But then again, I'm not in the States, I'm in Japan, and that's how it works here. But let's get back to the sound, okay?
もう卒業したのもう15年前、僕もう大学院おっしゃってるよ。いいですか？カバンちょっと覗いていい？はい、どうぞ。すいません。これは仕事使ってるのカミソリ。あ、そう大丈夫。カミソリはね。ちょっと中見ていい？もちろんもちろん。手すり手だけ。僕やります。
So at this point, they're still going through, I'm carrying a couple of bags, my training bag, my backpack. He goes, can I put my finger in your pocket so that I can check around, make sure you don't have any drugs, whatever. I'm like, go ahead. Because at the end of the day, I didn't do anything and I know I have no drugs or anything on me. So I was like, it's more to just get it done and to move on. But that's part of accepting when you live in Japan. So making all kinds of like getting angry, whatever, is not going to help you at all. The more they have nothing to do. It's just like back home when we say civil servants in the States, they're not civil and they don't serve anyone. And the Japanese police have all the power. What a lot of foreigners don't know is that once you come into Japan, in your visa and whatever, you kind of give up a lot of rights to be in Japan. And that's smart on their part, but it's very racially motivated or class motivated.
ブラジルの踊りといろいろやってるからこれ使ってるよ。はい。そうそう。バーバーの。そうそうそうそう。大丈夫。大丈夫。オッケー。入れていい？見ていい？それね。16年子供3人だから。もうずっと日本の学校なんですか？もう終わったよ。もう卒業しました。本当に？子供さんも日本で育ったの？そうそう。奥さんも日本の方です。女の子です。もちろん女の子だよ。いや違うよ。子供なんかびっくりしたよ。3人子供で、2人が男の子と女の子。これから心配じゃないですか？悪い男です。あんまりいい奥さんいるから結構娘いい人から安心結構ありますよ。日本はほら治安いいですからね。他の国と違って。国アメリカですね。大学終わってもう金が。それで愛情できて。じゃあカリフォルニア。これは普通に入れて大丈夫ですか？すみません。はい。ありがとうございます。すみません。今日格闘技をしてるから。そうそうそう。そうなの？何やられてる？ブラジルのカポエラ。カポエラ。そうそうそう。これは足上がらないよあれ。
The rest of it is just small talk, and they're asking about, like, are you married? How long you been in Japan? When did you graduate? Where are you from? And actually, I understand that they're actually fishing, right? They're asking me questions to see what kind of person I am because of my background. And on my first podcast last week, I talked about how Japanese racism is very logical, very based on what they consider logical understanding. Okay, you're a foreigner. Okay, one, boom. Wait, you're wearing a Rasta-colored hat, so you might be using drugs. It's not even like I wouldn't blame these like low-level police because that kind of stuff, they get the orders from up above. Somebody in government or somebody, their captain said, oh, check all foreigners who have Rasta colors. So I'm wondering if I was walking with a Rasta bracelet and they just saw it out the corner of the eye, would they have stopped me? If I was wearing a full tracksuit and looked like a dancer, would they have stopped me? It's really, I don't want to read too much into it, but it is racial profiling. It is class profiling, but from a very Japanese perspective. So the rest of the conversation was just small talk, asking, how long have you been with your wife? Because they're checking, right? Oh, I've been married 16 years at the time. I've got 3 kids. I graduated from one of your most prestigious universities. And at the end of the day, I didn't get the last part on video, but at the end of the day, they were super polite. Okay. People are going to jump in and say, well, it's better than the US. It's better than third world countries. It's better than this. It's better than that. Look, I'm not here to say if it's better or not. What I'm saying is that's the way it is here. And it's something, especially if you visit Japan, you should check out. And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, to think about. Do I love living in Japan, even though I know it's an incredibly racist society? Yes. Why? Because everywhere is going to have problems. It depends what you're willing to live with and what you're willing to let affect you. If I were to let every microaggression or every time something racist happened to me here, then it would put my panties in a bunch. And I don't need that, right? I'm too strong. I'm a Mestre of Capoeira. I have to live by example. I have to lead by example. So I see it, but I'm more used to it. Do I agree that it's less aggressive than the United States? Well, here's what it comes down to, right? People only complain about police when they want to get attention, or when they want to make themselves look like victims, or when they did something bad. I didn't do anything bad. I was done and I was on my way. That's it. And I can't tell you how many times I've stopped at the police stations back in the day before Google Maps and all that, and asked directions. The police here are incredibly polite, and generally I would say 99% of the time I've interacted with 100% of the time I've interacted with Japanese police has never been a negative situation. And every couple of years, I don't go out as much at night because I'm older and here in the neighborhood. In my neighborhood here, the Academia, we've gotten so many noise complaints that the first 10 years, there was almost police at the Academia every day. Every time we had a roda, the police would come and they would say, excuse me, could you turn down? We need to take your name for the report. That's it. I mean, they can't do anything. This is private property and there's really nothing they can do. And over the last 10 years, I would say the noise complaints don't come anymore because, people know I'm here. I joke. Magome is my gome. It's my area. So that's kind of a good perspective on how things work in Japan here. Guys, but let me know what you guys think. Do you have any experiences here in Japan where this has happened to you, or in a situation in the United States or Europe where you see yourself, in conflict with the police? Honestly, growing up, police, in my opinion, were very racist. Mexican-American in South San Isidro. But what I felt more than anything was the racism and bigotry from the Border Patrol agents. Because believe it or not, I grew up with 80% Border Patrol around me because we lived right on the border. Every other hour there was a Border Patrol van going by. People, you see the people trying to get into the United States, and you're like, oh, La Migra. There was a joke, right? We don't play hide and go seek in my neighborhood. We play La Migra, which means the immigration officers, right? The immigration officers coming, so you got to hide, you got to run. It's messed up, but that tells you how the situation was. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, the questions you ask inspire me to do more. Guys, I hope you like this podcast. Mestre Sukuri coming to you from Tokyo, Japan, 23 years in. Minasan, arigatou gozaimasu.